Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Steph. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I was going to say tonight, but I'm aware that it's not tonight everywhere. It's only tonight where I am, and might not be tonight for anybody else, but welcome. Welcome to this webinar. Do Pets Fill the Void? A subject very close to my heart, and I'm sure to our other panelists' hearts and all of your hearts as well. So thank you for stepping on in. Love seeing where everyone's from, by the way, and all the pets and things going into the chat. If you don't know me, my name is Steph Penny and I am in Sydney, Australia. So that's why it's nighttime here. Proud fur mummy of a cat called Boba, and he's sitting right beside me at the moment. So you may see his little face appear on my screen at some point. I am joined, of course, by the radiant Steph Phillips and Merlijn from, or actually I'll let Merlijn say where she's from as well. I won't steal your thunder. Merlijn, do you want to quickly say who you are, where you're from?
I'm Merlijn. I am from Diemen, which is like, it is a separate village, but it's surrounded by Amsterdam. So yeah, that's where I live. And I just grabbed, that's why I walked away for a sec, my pet, which is Polka. She's a bit shy at the moment. We'll see her head at some point. Oh, there she comes.
Oh,
It's Polka.
oh. Wow. How long is she, Merlijn?
Like I think 1 meter 20 centimeters.
Wow.
That would be like 4 feet, I think. For everyone from the US. So yeah, that's it sounds long, but like you see when she's all balled up, she's not large.
Wow, wow. Well, we will get to talking about all of our pets in due course, but by way of introduction, I might read out our bios so the people watching can get to know a little bit more about us and our childless stories as well. So, Merlijn, I'm going to start with yours if that's all right, and you can show off Palika as I chatter on. So Merlijn is 30 years old. She got married on August the 30th this year. And together with your husband, you have your adorable ball python, Poleka, your scaly daughter. Lovely. Merlijn went to med school and was just 1 year away from becoming an MD when her congenital heart defect became too disabling and she had to stop her studies. Merlijn's been on disability for 1.5 years now, which has been both a huge relief and a grieving process. I can only imagine, yeah, what that's been like for you. This disability is also the reason Merlijn is childless by forced choice. There's a decent chance she wouldn't be able to get pregnant. Oh, sorry, she would be able to get pregnant and give birth, but she could never be the mother she'd want to be. And plus having more cardiac issues over the years. Merlijn spends her time mostly crocheting. She also loves reading, cooking, playing Magic the Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons. Awesome, awesome. Thanks for sharing about yourself and your childlessness story too. Next we have Steph Phillips. Stephanie spent a large part of her 20s in an abusive relationship and took the contraceptive pill to ensure children would not be born into that situation. Wow, such a courageous step to take, Steph. Good on you. In her early 30s, Steph met her husband-to-be, but they didn't try to conceive until nearing 40. At the age of 39, Steph was told by an unsympathetic doctor, if he manages to get you pregnant, it is highly unlikely you'll carry full term. Wow. She knew in that moment she would never be a mum. In 2016, Steph founded 3 childless support groups on Facebook. Childless
You're freezing a bit, Steph.
She'll hopefully come back in a second.
At all. Hello?
Hi there. Sorry, you froze for a little bit, but you're back again now. Don't worry.
I froze.
Now your mic is off, yes.
All right, lovely. In 2017, after realizing there was no national recognition of the childless community, Steph founded World Childless Week, and the rest is history. Steph lives in Worcester. Did I say that right?
Worcestershire.
Worcester.
Don't worry, nobody can pronounce it. It's an ongoing joke across the world.
Thank you. No. You have to correct me. Oh my goodness. She lives with her husband and 2 rescue cats, Storm and Teacup. How cute is that? She enjoys gardening, arts and crafts, a good book, dining out, and relaxing in front of the television with a puzzle book, and one of her 2 cats snuggled up beside her. Sounds amazing. And as far as I go, I'm the proud human of Boba the rescue cat. And yes, that is Boba Fett from Star Wars. I'm passionate about caring for rescue animals, and Boba is a young ginger tabby boy who loves chasing his favorite toy mouse around the house and sleeping near his humans. I am childless by forced choice due to a medical condition, and I find that having an animal companion around helps to fill the void left by childlessness. And of course, animals are just an endless source of entertainment as well. I am also a writer, singer-songwriter, psychologist, chocoholic, secondhand bargain hunter, and avid poster of cat pics on social media. And I love giving back to the childless community. I'm passionate about building solidarity with others, helping us to share our stories so we can remind each other we are not alone. Very important part of World Childless Week, I think. So let's get down to it. I would love to know from you ladies, and I don't mind who goes first. Of course, if there's no volunteers, I'll volunteer somebody. But I'd love to know how you and your pet or pets met.
I can go first. It's not a very exciting story. I had decided that I wanted to have a pet snake. I had wanted that from when I was very little. And then kind of sort of forgot that I wanted it until my father brought it up again. And I decided to go for it. And I wanted to not get a baby snake because I wanted to have like a little bit of snake to no, you cannot go in there. She wanted to drink my coffee.
Oh, okay.
So I went to to Marktplaats, which is a Dutch website. I think you have like Craigslist in the US, and you can get all kinds of secondhand whatever there, including animals. So I got her from someone who was moving and couldn't take her with him, so I could just get her and her enclosure all in one go, which was of course very easy for me and nice to give her a new home when she needed it. I am going to put her back because, as I told the 2 of you before, she is going into shed, so she can't see very well, so it's a bit stressful for her to be out.
Yeah. Oh, I see.
Yeah, put her back where she feels safe.
Thank you.
It's also bedtime for her.
Oh.
Now, I did not know snakes had a bedtime, so I've just learnt something new today.
Always learning, no matter what the subject, we're always learning.
Always learning. Wow, that is so cool. How long have you had Poleka for now? Sorry if you said.
Now almost 2 years. Yeah,
2
I
years.
think somewhere half October it's been 2 years.
Wow, wow, okay.
How old is she?
6 years old, 6
years old.
Wow, wonderful. Thank you so much for the show and tell.
Yeah, of course. I love doing that.
I really enjoyed that.
Oh, can I ask actually,
Wonderful.
how long, what is a lifespan?
We don't know exactly. like at least probably 25 to 30 years,
Oh, wow.
but likely longer because, of course, 30 years we didn't know how to care for them as well as we do now. So as more of those snakes are getting better care for a bigger part of their lives, they're getting older. So not sure. But
Definitely a long-term commitment,
yeah,
isn't
especially
it?
given my heart condition, it's not that unlikely that she will outlive me. But she should,
Really?
if, I mean, of course, everything can happen at any time, but she shouldn't outlive my husband, so she can stay here for life.
Mm. Wow. Wow. So it's a real investment
Yes, but it's
having
also
her
very
around.
nice to
Yeah.
not have to say goodbye to a pet every couple of years.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. Yep. Yes, there are some pets who have much shorter life expectancy for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, wonderful. Well, I do have a couple of photos of
yeah,
Poleka. Shall I
sure.
put them on display?
Yeah,
Yeah, just going to share my
you
screen
can
here.
all see her when she's at her prettiest, which is not now.
Oh,
Yeah, can you all see that? I'm
yeah,
crossing my fingers and toes, hoping the technology is working.
it is.
It is lovely. There we go. So
Yeah,
there's a photo of Merlijn with Poleka. And there she is, I think, on your lap,
yeah,
Merlijn, and
yeah. Most of the
on
pictures are
a
when
on a
she's just on
couch.
my lap because it's an easy moment to
Yep.
take a pic.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a couple more.
Yes, I like the one when she is being her own hat, the one on the
Beautiful
left.
markings.
Coiled on top of herself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she looks so proud of
Yeah.
herself as well.
That is so cool. Merlijn, I have to ask, does she have any, quirky personality traits or
Um,
behaviors?
it's hard to she undoubtedly does, but I don't know that many ball pythons this well. Like everybody knows a couple of cats, uh, even if they don't have any of their own. So it's easier to compare. And with her, I'm not entirely sure what is polka and what is just ball python. Um, but
Yep.
she is very sweet, which they usually are. Um, she she has bitten me like once because she is not very smart.
Ooh.
And she went past the rat I was trying to feed her and got my hand. But she looked very guilty about it, so it's okay.
I like the idea of a snake looking guilty.
It's so funny. It's probably just me, but I swear I can see expressions on her face, and it's probably not true, but I still see them. Um,
Oh my goodness. No, I've never heard of that before. That
no,
that's a first. Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, she's a bit shy, but we're working on that. Um, yeah, but she needs some time to like warm up uh, and well, you just saw when I grabbed her, she was one big coil, and after a little bit, she starts exploring. And
Mm.
but honestly, one of my favorite things about having a snake is not really about polka; it's about people. Because some people think it's fantastic, right? When I tell them I have a pet snake, but many people are somewhere on the spectrum between a little skeptical and downright terrified. And
Yes.
almost everyone ends up having her on their lap and loving her. And some people
Wow.
just get to petting her and don't want to hold her, which also fine. But it's so, and I could talk till I'm blue in the face about how she's not scary, but it probably wouldn't have any effect until I show her, and then it's so quickly people just love her, and
Wow.
I love that.
Wow. It makes your heart happy, doesn't it, when people
It
love
does.
your yeah, your pets. Yeah, for sure. Wow. Well, thank you for sharing with us about Poleka. And thanks for sharing these beautiful photos of
Yes.
her as well. They really kind of show her off there,
Thank you for having
I
me.
think. Yeah, oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. And yeah, I can understand the trepidation many people would have around, are you sure it's
Yeah.
safe? But it sounds like she kind of warms up to people and they warm up to her, given
Yes.
enough time. Mm, wonderful. Well, Steph, I'm going to come to you. I've got some photos of your Storm and Teacup here. Do you want to tell us the story of how you met your fur babies?
Yeah, they're both rescue animals. They came from the same rescue centre, or rather a rescue home. I saw them online, sort of similar thing, looking at rescue places. They were both kittens, both just weeks old when I first came across them. And Teacup is about a month younger than Storm, and she latched herself onto Storm, so they wanted them to be rehomed as two cats together, which was perfect because I wanted to have two cats, or rather two kittens at the time. Storm's the one on the left, the tortoiseshell and white, and Teacup is the tabby and white. So they used to be extremely close. Now they're sort of more like, not very cuddly, not very close to each other, but they have their moments. But a lot of the rest of the time, they have a bit of a hissy fit. But you can tell deep down they love each other. That's what I keep telling myself anyway. Storm, they're both 12 years old, coming up to 13 next year. Storm is the one who is a nutter when she flops. She likes to, as you can see in the photo there, she will literally come along the
Yes.
arm of the sofa and then just flop upside down between like the
Oh.
end of the sofa and my lap. And she's quite happy to have her belly tickled. One of the few cats, I think, that is. But she will sit there quite contentedly. So never
Oh,
beside
gorgeous.
me. So yeah, she's very
Gorgeous.
feisty. She has her moments, but I know what I'm usually, and she's all right. Teacup is really funny because again, because they were kittens in a rescue centre, and the house was quite full of a lot of cats. So I don't think they had that interaction that they should have had. I think it's something like between week 6 and 8 weeks old or something like that. Where if they're not handled by humans, then they never really adjust to liking it.
Mm.
So when you pick Storm up, she's okay, she'll have a cuddle. When you pick Teacup up, she literally, her arms and legs, all go in opposite directions, and she just sticks out and refuses to be held. She's holding this cat that is literally going like that away from you. So she just doesn't like it. But the biggest character trait that she's got is she is convinced, I'm sure, that she thinks she's a lion because when she has her mad episode and runs around the house like her pants are on fire, she actually growls as well. So it's these little
Oh.
growls that come out of her that are really weird sound. It's like, and it's like, okay, then. So she's only done it for about the last 2, 3 years, never used to do it. So the first time she did it, I thought, what's that? What's going on? Is there something, a problem? But no, she just loves to run
Mm.
around the house doing these
Hmm.
growling noises, and she'll run so fast that she'll actually pant, which cats aren't supposed to do. But occasionally you'll see her go, and then she'll stop after a few seconds. But
Oh.
she's like a dog; she will actually pant because she runs like a nut. She run so fast once that she actually took the cat flap off and broke it in half when she came through it from the garden to the house. So yeah, they're both nutters. And
Oh,
yeah,
gee.
but I love them dearly. Do you know what I mean? Because you can't not love them.
It's funny how, the longer you have a pet and the more you get to know them, the more these interesting personality traits seem to surface.
Yeah,
And interesting behaviors. We're like, okay, that's new.
yeah,
What is that?
yeah. They're definitely like you say, they do change and their characters emerge and change slightly as they age. Do you know what I mean? It's like the
Yeah,
one thing
yeah.
about her that I loved as a kitten, but hate now, is as a kitten she was a hunter, and I'd have a collection of 3, 4, or 5 leaves come in a day, and she'd proudly present me with a leaf.
Oh.
So I'd collect them. And now,
Oh.
unfortunately, it's onto little critters, which isn't quite so delightful. The other day, she brought in this huge dragonfly, which I managed to get outside, luckily. But yeah,
Wow.
they're both completely different. If Teacup brings in something
Wow.
she's caught, Storm will try and take identity for it. Go, I did that. And I'm like, I know you didn't because you're a lazy cat and you're not very good. She actually did the once the Storm.
That's
She's
right.
jumped up the fence, and I've seen her do it 2 or 3 times. were in the cartoons where they don't quite make it, and then you see him going, and she's actually done that a few times because she just can't make the jump. So yeah, so they do
Oh,
entertain us. They are lovely, but they do
oh,
entertain us.
highly, highly entertaining. And I'm sure a lot of our viewers will be nodding their heads and
Yeah.
smiling and laughing along with us as we tell these stories. Are very relatable.
Yeah.
And I can certainly relate to that with young Boba here. Here's a couple of shots of Boba. Um, he's yeah, he gets the zoomies, and we've got bare floors in our place, so he'll start from one end of the house and then zoom along and then skid until he bangs into the wall at the other end of the house. He doesn't seem hurt though. He just kind of looks up and goes, right, let's go again. So he's a bit nutty as well. But he's very affectionate, and he likes to do this thing where he'll jump up on the couch beside you, and he'll flop down beside you and then lean against you and kind of look up backwards into your face like this, right? It's absolutely adorable. It's like so cute. It's just way too cute. I can't even. But yeah, he's lovely. And I don't know if you guys can actually see. I'm going to stop sharing the screen for now. I don't know if you guys can actually see, but that's him behind me sitting on
Yes.
the blanket with his back to me. So I don't know if that's passive aggressive or if that's just how he's comfortable. He was circling my feet earlier on, but I wasn't paying him any attention, so perhaps he's just gone off in a little huff,
Yeah.
which is fine, which is
Probably, I'm
totally
gonna put my
fine.
back to you now because you ignored me. I'm ignoring you. So
That's right.
yeah.
That's right. Yes, I don't quite mind. So I'm interested to hear from you both. You know, when we talk about childlessness and this question of pets filling the void, and that may or may not be language that connects with people. But I'm curious for you both, you know, what kind of difference it's made to your life having your pets, and whether you feel like it makes any difference to the void, for want of a better term, that you experienced with being childless. I don't mind who goes first.
You want to go first, Merlijn? Because I've just been
Sure.
chattering.
It's not, for me, it was not necessarily about being childless that made me get a pet. It has helped me a lot that she can keep me company when because I'm home a lot, and my husband works, so I'm home alone a lot. And it's very nice to have someone or something keep you company. And why not a cat or a dog, you might ask? Because I am very allergic to cats, and I don't have the energy for dogs. So I would probably still have had a snake, even if I wasn't, but I might have also had a cat, but I can't because I just sneeze nonstop, and that's no fun.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, it is nice to have something to care for, and yeah. But it was not, yeah, for me, it was not necessarily about the grief from being childless that made me think, well, now I have to get a pet.
Mm, mm. Yeah, it's that companionship.
Yeah,
And as you say, like having someone to care for as well. I think that's so important, isn't it? And you know, there's lots of myths obviously out there about childlessness, and one myth is that we're selfish, you know, for not having kids. That's one that gets bandied about a lot. But when we think about all that we do for our pets, you know, the care, the feeding, if they need medication or veterinary attention, you know, all that stuff, and how much of a long-term commitment it is. You know, yeah, we're giving of ourselves to, I was going to say another person, and I realize they're not people, but they kind of are, right? So I'm just going to say people, giving of ourselves to another person. sometimes for the better part of our lives. So absolutely. And would you say, Merlane, that Poleka does help with the loneliness?
Yes, she does. Yeah,
Mm.
it's I mean, I usually try to just let her sleep during the day and get her out in the evenings, because that's when she's awake. And I wouldn't necessarily like it if some giant picked me up in the middle of the night to have me on their lap. So I try to not do it to her too much. Um, but on the other hand, like everything she needs is taken care of. So she can come cuddle during the day sometimes. That's her
Yes.
only tasks. So
Okay.
but yeah, it does, especially when it's been a couple of days when I'm home alone more than usual. It's very nice to just be able to go get her and sit with her for like half an hour or so before she goes back to bed. And yeah,
Beautiful. Beautiful. And do you talk to her?
yes, all the time. Snakes do hear. Many people think that they can't hear. They don't hear very well because they don't have like ear openings. They have skin all over their ears. Um,
Mm.
so don't quote me on this, but I've heard it like compared to what we hear if we have our hands over our ears. Um,
Right.
I'm not sure if she recognizes my voice or not, but I do definitely talk to her. I think maybe she'll recognize it and know that I'm no danger to her, and well, can't
Mm.
hurt.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. You've got a sense that you're familiar to her, like she
I'm not sure,
recognizes your
honestly.
scent. Mm.
Sometimes I think uh, when there are people over and I've gotten her out, sometimes she just keeps slithering back to me and to my lap. And other times
Oh.
she's just all over. And then I think, oh, she knows me. And then another time she is just all over and doesn't want to have anything to do with me. So I don't know. Maybe it's just that I'm the warmest at the moment where she wants to sit in my lap. And it's nice and
Yep,
comfy.
yep,
Maybe she
yep. Oh,
recognized me
definitely.
in some way. It's very different from having a cat or a dog or a bunny or
Mm,
whatever that actually knows you and is happy to see you. She's not.
mm, mm. And yet
She
there's a
would
familiarity. Yeah.
no, and she doesn't need the interaction. They're solitary
Mm.
animals. So if it was up to her, I would only go in that enclosure to like feed her and change her water and clean and stuff and just never get her out. But A, I want to, and B, sometimes, if she has to go to the vet, it's nice that she's used to being handled. Um, and she will be nice to the vet.
Mm, mhm. Yep, and it gets her, I guess, familiar with you as well
Yeah,
and
yeah,
comfortable
she doesn't,
around you. Yeah.
it's not like she hates it, but she doesn't need it, which is also
Mm.
very nice because if I'm on vacation, I just need to make sure someone changes her water every couple of days, and that's all she needs for
Yeah.
those weeks.
Yeah, yeah, very low maintenance, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Wow. Wow, wow. So perks on both sides.
Yeah.
And uh and she doesn't make you sneeze. Very
No, she
important.
does not. That's very nice.
Awesome. What about for yourself, Steph? Would you say that Storm and Teacup have made a difference in your childlessness?
I think pets do. I've always had pets in my life since a kid, and then always chosen to have pets again as an older and as an adult. And as you say, it's that ability to be able to nurture and to care and to tend for something that loves you one minute and as a cat obviously hates you the next, but that ability to look after something. And it's just almost like when you go out for the day and you come back, it's like we're back, we're home, and we talk to them as if they were kids. And like, yeah, they're my fur kids sometimes, fur mum. And I know some people hate that terminology, and it's you've got to do what suits yourself. But
Mm.
it's knowing the house isn't empty when you come home, knowing that you've got to look after them when you wake up, that you can't just lay in bed. I think that's one of the things when I was first grieving, not so much now with these cats, but with previous pets, it's the fact you've got to get up, get out of bed, look after somebody else or something else. It gives you a
Mm,
reason every day to carry on when
mm,
sometimes you don't feel there is a reason. So it's
mm,
yeah, it's that, and the daily comfort they give you from just being there as well. So I think
mm,
there's definitely a bond that helps you get through when you've got a sad day, a grief day, or whatever it is. Do you know what I mean? But
mm,
being able to be tactile, to actually to touch an animal, whether it's furry, feathered, or scaly, the fact you can touch something that
Yeah.
you care about and they care for you most of the times. And as you say, and I reckon, like with a snake, they do know you. They might be just like a cat and they've got the attitude of like, we'll come to you and we want to come to you, but they can smell and sense.
Yeah.
So it's there, isn't it? That connection and that bond.
mm,
So for me, yeah, an empty house is it's a bit too sterile for me. Do you know what I mean? I like to have the fact that
mm,
there's animals there that I can talk to, that I can look after, that I can tend, that I can hug when they want to, or just they'll snuggle up beside me rather than being picked up and things like that. So, as you say, it's not about being selfish at all, because selfish is to do with the word want. It's like, I want a cat. So if that makes me selfish, that's fine. But if anybody says, I want a kid, and they have a kid, that makes them selfish too. So that word's thrown out of the equation as far as I'm concerned. It's about love and care and tending and
mm,
nurturing and just
mm,
having the benefit of them in your life as well, being able to look after an
mm,
animal that is
mm,
dependent on you more than a child that will grow up and in the majority of cases take care of themselves. An animal can't do that if it's a pet. So you've got to be there for them from day one to the last day. So, it's a lot of beautiful connections in there that I think can really help, as you say, when you find out you're childless.
It's such a bond, such a unique bond,
Mm,
I think, with a pet. And particularly as you say, Steph, it's a really good point that they're dependent on you for their entire lives.
yeah,
It's not a case of when you hit 18, you move out, any of that kind of stuff. They're there for life, and often as they age, they require a bit more care and attention as well. So it's very much a giving relationship, but it's reciprocal too, because
yeah,
as you've said, they give us so much
yeah.
in return. Yeah, yeah.
Although for cats, we are pretty much their servants and we do as we're told. But but their love
That's
is
just part of the package.
it is.
Yeah. I looked after the cat of my dad's girlfriend quite a bit. Um, that's what triggered the allergy, unfortunately. But and she was ancient. I think she was like almost 20 years old. Um, it was, yeah, it's so nice. She just, all she wanted to do was just lay in my lap. And I was home basically all day, so all I wanted to do was have the cat in my lap all day. So it worked great until it didn't. But yeah, cats are lovely,
Yeah,
and snakes
Yeah.
are too, but in a very different way.
of course.
I
Very
often
different.
get like the question, well, what's the fun if, because she doesn't love me, like why would you want that? And I'm just like, well, then I guess I'll have to love her extra to make up for it, which I
Mm,
certainly do.
mm. Wonderful. Wonderful. And there's something about companionship. Um, Steph, you mentioned coming home to an empty house is it's a bit of a strange experience now. It's like when you come home now, you've got someone who's waiting for you, someone to talk to. And I certainly had a strange experience just on that note. A couple of years ago, my long-term fur baby, Portia, actually passed over the Rainbow Bridge, and I'd had her for 17 years. And when she passed over, the house was eerily quiet. Like, really, it was quite a surreal experience. I was like, well, I've had pets before. I don't see why this would be any different, but it really was. It hit me very hard indeed. And I do actually have, for anyone who might be interested, got a little photo of Portia. Not that's Boba. There's Portia, little
Oh.
calico lady. And so I wanted to ask you both if you've had experiences of pets passing over the Rainbow Bridge, like how has that been for you? And also, like, how does that affect the grief of childlessness, if at all? Because I know for me, it made the grief of childlessness much more acute in the early days of grieving Portia. So, for you guys, yeah, just curious about your experience of what it's been like to lose a fur baby in that space.
First of all, Portia is beautiful. Was beautiful, but well.
She still is. She
Yeah,
still
she
is
definitely still is.
mine.
I have Polke is my first pet as an adult, and so also my first pet since I've known I won't have children. I was thinking about why I couldn't necessarily tell you what she means for me from the perspective of being childless, and I think it's between my decision to just not have children because I couldn't be the mom I'd want to be, and getting Polka, there's like a month and a half. So I've had a very short time like grieving childlessness before getting her. So I can't really compare that before and after.
Mm,
Which means that I also, of course, haven't had any pets pass over the rainbow bridge. Well, since I was a child, actually. Uh,
mm,
yeah, and there's like we had rabbits and guinea pigs when I was a child, but I lived outside because my mom was also allergic to them. Uh, so, and it's not easy to get them to be super tame and friendly when you just don't, you are not around them all the time, especially when you're not living somewhere where it's nice to be outside year round. Um, so they were quite skittish and bitey. Uh, and I still love them, of course, but there's like one of those rabbits that was actually very friendly. Um,
mm,
and that I grieved for longer than like a week or so when he died because
mm,
there was just not a very close bond. And I mean, I liked them and I loved watching them just play with each other and run around.
mm.
And they were very well cared for, but yeah, the, we were not that close to them, even though I
Yeah.
really tried. Especially when I was a younger kid, I often tried to, you know, cuddle with the rabbits we had, and they were quite big because we got them. And then the seller said they wouldn't get that much bigger, and they did get that much bigger. Um, they also had told us that there were two sisters, and then suddenly there were baby rabbits. um, so um, but I was all the time completely scratched up from trying to love on those rabbits, and they did not like it.
Oh dear. Oh,
So yeah,
it's
I've not had
interesting.
the experience since being a child, but I already noticed that with Polka, when I think there's something wrong with her, um, it's yeah, it hits me that much more than it ever did with any of the rabbits. Um,
Mm, mm,
Probably also because I'm just older and I know I'm childless, and but I think mostly just because she is way better to cuddle than any pets I've had previously.
it might hit differently in as an
Yeah,
adult
yeah,
than to how it
definitely
hit.
that as well. It's all
Yeah,
kinds of things. Yeah,
yeah, for sure. And there's implications now, when you're an adult and you're the one responsible caring for them and
yes,
so forth. But absolutely losing pets as a child can be just as devastating,
yeah.
for sure. Steph, how about you? I think we've got a couple of photos of some of your pets who have gone over the Rainbow Bridge.
Yeah, I think it can be devastating when you actually lose any of the animals that you love. I've had a couple of
Mm,
house rabbits, do you know what I mean? So going from left to right there, you've actually got Jelly the cat, who did have a brother called Custard, who went walkabout, unfortunately, at a very young age, so we never found them again. But Jelly, and then you've got Flip Flop with Jelly, and then separate you've got Howie.
mm,
Again, all rescue animals, all different personalities. Losing them is heartbreaking. You know what I mean? It's the sort of thing that it's not a grief that is just there and it's gone. It's a grief that can come back when you least expect it, when you just start thinking about them and the memories of them and what they were like and how much they meant to you. Do you know what I mean? And that
Mm,
love is so strong. And I think people who've got kids don't always understand the connection we can have with our pets, because
mm,
that's who we're really devoting all our time and attention to a lot of, every day. So they give us so much. And with rabbits as well, it's like, I don't love one animal more than the other. With rabbits, they need a lot more specific attention because the diet is important. Do you know what I mean? How they live and that. They're both house rabbits, never lived outside, but they need a lot of attention and fuss
Yeah.
and care and tendering. Do you know what I mean? And unfortunately, they both only live to be about 6 years old, which a lot of people would say,
mm.
oh, that's a old age, but it's not. They can live to 8, 10, or even 12 years old, rabbits. But yeah,
Wow.
but they were the ones that, because they have got a digestive system that needs to keep ticking over 24/7. So they were my reason to get up early in the morning to get them their breakfast. Do you know what I mean? And then they'd have
Mm,
food during the day and then nighttime food and stuff. So there was a lot more that you have to commit to when you've got rabbits than you do with a cat or a dog or a snake. Do you know what I mean? So when
wow.
they suddenly weren't there, it was a case of, what do I do now? Why do I get up? So it was incredibly hard to lose them, but I'm so grateful they were
Mm,
part of my life. And yeah, they really emphasized more than any other animals, I think, the connection of how much comfort they can give us when we are
mm.
grieving. So yeah, beautiful animals.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'm learning more and more tonight about different animals. I'm learning about rabbits. I didn't know about the 24/7 digestive system. That's so interesting. For you, Steph, like when you lost them, and as you say, it's hard to go and find a reason to get out of bed
Mm.
in the morning. Was there anything that kind of helped you at that point in time?
I think one of the main things, the fact that there was still other pets in the house. Do you know what I mean?
Mm,
Because I said it was usually we've
mm,
had the cats and the rabbits, do you know what I mean, as buddy sort of thing going along. So you
mm.
think, I've still got to get up and look after them. But there wasn't the same urgency that I used to always feel
Right.
more with the rabbits. But
Mm,
yeah, it's realizing as well that your health is important and that you have to go on.
mm,
And
mm.
it's a struggle, do you know what I mean? But for me, it's never too long, I'd say, until, another animal comes along. And I
Yeah.
think sometimes we get that guilt of like, oh, are we getting another animal too quick? Is it the right
Yeah.
thing to do? But if
Yeah.
it can help heal your heart and you're helping another animal maybe from a rescue centre,
Mm.
you're sort of continuing that support that any animals on Rainbow Bridge would go, yeah, go for it. Give them the love that you gave me. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you said that, Steph. I think it's often a bit of an elephant in the room when you lose a pet. Everyone kind of goes into this sort of warning advice mode about, well, don't get one too fast. You don't want to get one on the rebound. And I'm like, why?
It's not a boyfriend, is it? It's
What's
not like somebody
what's
made
right?
Yeah.
it's a pet that you're
Like,
going to love because you love pets. Yeah.
Yeah.
mm,
Yeah.
Or people are like, well, why don't you just get a new one when you're not ready to get a new one?
Yeah.
It's somehow they always manage to say the opposite of what you're feeling. It doesn't matter if you want to get another pet immediately, they say, well, just wait. And if you're like, well, I need some time, then they're like, well, just get a new one. What's the problem?
That's
It's all
really
bunnies.
true. Yeah. That's a good point. It has to be right for yourself, doesn't it? And how you're feeling. It has to be
Yeah.
right for you. But yeah. But I think a new pet can help heal the grief of the pet that's passed as well. Yeah.
mm, mm. And I felt the same way when I lost Portia. I grieved hard for a bit, and then I went, yep, I'm ready for another animal in the house. The house is just a bit too spooky with just me in it when I'm home alone and there's no animal. That's just weird. It's weird. So now that I've got young Boba, I'm pretty much convinced that I'll need an animal companion of some kind for the rest of my life now. I don't think I'd ever be able to go back to not having an animal in the house. I don't know about you ladies, but that just sits really strangely with me, the idea of being alone in the house now.
Yeah.
So I think that's inevitable.
Yeah, because I often think
Mm.
like I love having kittens, but I think as I get older and perhaps haven't got so long to go, perhaps I should look more towards elderly cats that can't get rehomed because people think they're too old, or the troublemakers. Do you know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? Like one of my rabbits was a troublemaker, but and he had to come on his own because again with rabbits you should have them really in couples at least. They shouldn't be solo animals. But the first one we had, he actually did come
Oh.
from a pet shop. We just went in for some bird food and came out of a rabbit. Bit bizarre. But then the second one was a rescue, and he needed to be rehomed on his own. And I've forgotten completely where I was going with this point. But yeah, I think, like you say, it's you've got to do what's right for you with pets. But the one thing is,
Mm.
you never forget the ones who've already passed on to Rainbow Bridge, even when you get a new pet.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. I don't know about anyone else, if anyone else has had this experience, but I still see Portia occasionally in dreams. So it's almost like, yeah, they're still a part of your life, even though they're gone. And don't worry, everyone, I also see Boba in my dreams. So it's not a one-sided uh, favoritism thing going on there, just in case anyone got worried or nervous about that. Um, so one question I've got burning in my brain from this conversation for both of you ladies is, if someone you knew was childless and they were kind of weighing up whether or not to get a pet of some description, a fur baby, a feather baby, a scaly baby, what would you say? What would be like some words of advice or wisdom that you would share?
Yeah, I mean, definitely go for it. Do your research, of course. But yeah, also look outside of cats and dogs and bunnies, because there are many other kinds of pets that might just fit you better. Like if you're working full time, a dog is probably just not a great idea. I mean, sure, you can probably make it work, but it might, yeah, it's probably not the right fit. Um, and there are so many animals that can be lovely for all kinds of different situations. Yeah,
Beautiful. I love that. Think outside the box, hey?
yeah,
That's so cool. And absolutely, you never know what kind of animal's going to be a good fit for you until you start trying them out. And that makes them sound like an inanimate object, and that's not obviously what I mean. But I mean, when you start meeting them and getting to know them a little bit, see if they might be a good match for you. Yeah,
yeah, and
for
definitely if
sure.
you know someone with the kind of pet that you are considering, definitely ask them, like use that resource, ask them about it, ask to maybe pet sit for if they are going on vacation or anything. Yeah.
Mm, mm. Wonderful. Great words of advice there, Merlijn. Thank you. How about for you, Steph? What would you say to someone thinking about getting a pet?
I think, yeah, it's like if you want to have that connection with an animal, it can be a beautiful thing. But as you've already said as well, do your research, make sure that it's the right animal for you, that you can give the commitment it needs and the health it needs, and have got the money that might be involved to do that, because pets aren't necessarily cheap. And some pets cost more, whether it's to do with the habitat they have and the heating and the lighting, or with the fact their diet is more enriched, or whether they might need more vet care than a standard animal. Do you know what I mean? So it's doing your research, because the more you know in advance, the more like you're going to get the perfect match, and then it's going to be, a really easy ride from there on in, because you already know what the expectations are and what you need to do. So
Mm,
yeah, and especially with rabbits, I will say they need a lot. They need a lot. Do you know what I mean? It's like you
mm,
can't just stick
mm.
them in a cage. You can't just stick them out in the garden. And most people who get rabbits will buy a shed and then have a run attached to a shed, at
Oh
least.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
Size wise, because there's a little film that goes around. It's a hutch is not enough, because a hutch normally, how far can that rabbit run in those steps? Do you know what I mean? So it's thinking of that, like say you've got a cat, you can go at a cat flap. If you've got a dog, you've got to be there to be able to take it out. So your work shifts and patterns and things like that, they all come into play. And for anybody who
Mm,
wants to mix of animals and perhaps can't or isn't sure yet, maybe volunteer at a rescue centre
mm,
and get that
mm.
connection that way. Then you're not making the commitment, but you are gaining the connection and the love and, you know,
Yep,
and the knowledge
yep.
and everything from there before you do something. But yeah, if you can get a pet and you want a pet and you've done your research, go for it. Undoubtedly go for it.
Yep, yep. And that's been my experience too. If you go for it, they give you even more than you could have hoped for. I like your words of wisdom there too about, sometimes a trial period or a few kind of dates with an animal is a good idea. And I think some rescue homes, I don't know what it's like in other places in the world, but in Australia, they'll often let you take them home for, say, a week or even longer if you request, and you can just to kind of make sure that you are a good fit. Because sometimes in that first meeting, that first hour or so, you don't always see all the different personality sides to the animal. So it can be good to take them home for a bit of a trial period. And particularly, Steph, when you've got multiple animals in the house, like yourself,
Yeah.
it can be good to work out, yeah, let's just make sure that these are all good personality matches in the home. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm interested in, there's a comment here in the chat that I've just noticed about getting pet insurance. And I'm interested to know if you ladies would like to weigh in on that one. Any thoughts on pet insurance? Good, bad, indifferent?
I think it can be absolutely great. A friend of mine who is in the chat, hi Lisa, has a dog with all kinds of chronic health issues, so it helps her a lot. Unfortunately, insuring a snake not really doable, at least here in the Netherlands, as far as I
Really?
have managed to find out. It's most pet insurances just don't do anything but the most standard of pets. And I think there was one that did, but it was so wildly expensive that it wouldn't have helped anything.
Oh, I
So
see.
I'm just I have some savings set apart for if she needs vet care, and yeah, it has to be enough because I can't do insurance.
Yes, and that's the difficulty, isn't it? Is paying the premiums
Yeah,
for that. Yeah, yeah. That's a really good point. It's got to be manageable. I'm getting all sorts of interesting comments in the chat, guys. Love to see it. Comments about sometimes pet insurance is too expensive, so I open a savings account. Some people swear by it. Other people are saying I'll never get pet insurance. So it's interesting, isn't it? We've got all across the spectrum there, all different kinds of preferences around that. How about you, Steph? Any thoughts?
Yeah, it's one of those tricky ones, isn't it? Because we haven't got pet insurance, although I did look into it and that over the time. And it was a case of you can pay for years, as you say, and then never need it. But when you do need it, unfortunately, with a lot of pets that are older, and it goes up so much, usually when they hit a certain age level, that it sometimes can kick you out of being able to afford it. And if you get certain conditions, it's not necessarily covered. Do you know what I mean? So I think you have to weigh up whether you can afford it monthly,
Oh,
because it is important to make sure that somehow or some way you've got that money there, whether it's for insurance or through savings, that if
mm,
the unfortunate happens, that you can actually take action straight away and look after your animals. Do you know what I mean? Because we've always been the case that whenever it's happened, we're there, we do it, we've got the money. But the
yeah,
insurance wise of things, it's a bit of a, I think it's very much a personal choice, but you do need to make sure you've got money in some format that will actually take care of that animal, because there's nothing worse than getting to a scenario where something that you love so much is in pain or injured or ill, whatever, and you can't do anything, because that's when animals end up going into rescue. That's quite a
yeah,
lot of the
yeah,
time, and you could end up losing your
yeah.
pet, which I think was one of the hardest things to do, must be give up a pet for its own well-being, knowing that you've got to say goodbye, and it will
Yeah,
be possibly because you didn't have the finances set in place
yeah.
initially. Yeah, so
Mm. Really good point. So absolutely it's a personal choice, and I don't think there's any right or wrong
no.
answer there. It depends on so many things, your circumstances and so forth. But absolutely, you know, when you're getting a pet, I imagine it's part of the thinking and the planning of, you know, how much should I have kind of stashed away for a rainy day, just like we might for ourselves,
Yeah.
in case, you know, something happens with our jobs or with our health, and, you know, we need to be able to pull something out of a hat. Oh, is that a cat?
It's a cat. She's gone by
I
now.
just got distracted by this
Yeah.
tail.
Oh,
Usually what you're seeing is tails go by. Yeah. You can see she's up in the window.
Oh, lovely. Is that teacup?
It's Storm, actually. Yeah.
It's still.
Storm. Yeah, she's sat down in the window now.
Oh, lovely that she put in an appearance
I
right
know.
before the end.
We said, didn't we, the live will all appear or they'll just disappear. Do you know what I mean? So we've got a cat bum, a cat tail, and at least
Yeah.
Merlijn we actually did see. Our Paula can come out, but yeah, it's so funny.
Oh, very cooperative animal. I like it. I like it. Well, we're just about at the end of our time here together, and I wondered for you both, Merlijn and Steph, if you had any kind of last words for anyone who might be watching, any sort of parting messages or things you'd like to highlight, or maybe something we haven't mentioned yet that you definitely want to mention.
I'll say one little thing
yeah.
because we also get. I just suddenly
I
thought,
need a
yeah,
minute to think.
we're both
So,
mulling things
go
over. Aren't we?
first.
I was just going to say that one thing we get often told is you'll never know true love. We get true love with a connection with our pets, and I think that's a beautiful thing that should be celebrated. And it doesn't matter if people love or hate our pets, as long as we love them, that's all that matters.
Mm.
I don't
Fabulous.
think I have much to add to that. Those were very wise words.
Yep, our job here is done, right, Merlijn? Enough said. Yeah, and anything lastly from you, Merlijn?
Yeah, no, I think it's what Steph already said. It's yeah, what's important is what's right for you, and if that's a dog, or a snake, or a parrot, or a fish tank, that doesn't matter. It's just, yeah, go with what matches your lifestyle and your preferences, because pets are amazing.
Yeah, amazing. And yeah, absolutely the importance of finding a good match for you, really crucial. And I think all I would add to that, oh, there's the cat again, beautiful.
Yeah, right.
All I would add is, you know, there's also a bit of a thing out there about, you know, having a pet isn't the same as having a child, and we're aware of that. And it might not be the same, and it might not replace a child, and it might not, you know, for want of a better word, cure our grief. But I don't think that's what life is about anyway. It's about finding space and room for that grief, and it's about finding meaning in it too. And I think pets can be an amazing way of finding meaning and purpose in life. And yep, not a cure, but they certainly can help to fill that void, that gap that's been left by childlessness. I really want to thank you both for everything you've shared here today, for the conversations. It's been really interesting. It's been funny. It's been informative. And to everyone who's participated in the chat as well, we've been watching, or I've been watching your comments scroll on my screen. It's been fabulous. Thank you for sharing your thoughts and your experiences as well. Yeah, feel free to share this as well with anyone else who might be interested. And we hope you all take care. Take great care of yourselves and of your pets, of course.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's been really lovely having been part of this conversation. Thanks so much.
It was very nice.
Lovely. Thank you. Thank you both.